on, man? How are you? And we could stream this live because we're not going to talk politics today.
That works for me.
So, Mike, thanks for stopping by. We have Costas Mandylor. Costas, can't wait to talk to you again. And now, you're in the United States. Is there a sighting of Costas?
Well, there is in the desert somewhere. When I pop out and try and say hi to the locals. I live in Europe now, but when I come back, I get a kick out of visiting our wonderful states, and Arizona is one of them.
And Costas has been also looking at who I was going to say, Conor McGregor. He looks a little bit like Conor McGregor now too, right?
Well, Conor just became a movie star. I guess he did Roadhouse or something like that.
Yeah, but he looked like he put on 30 pounds for that movie. Mike, would you agree? Yeah.
I didn't see the movie. I didn't see Roadhouse, but
you saw it, Costas, right?
I haven't seen it. I think
no, he's a lot bigger. He's a lot bigger than he was as a UFC fighter. Like really more stocky, bigger for sure. So
he's Costas, a physical specimen.
So what projects do you have going on that you can't speak about? Or what about stuff going on that's out right now?
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky enough to have scored a couple of jobs recently. And one of them's sort of like a Liam Neeson-esque Taken.
Oh, wow.
Kind of script where somebody has to do the miracle of saving a kid. And I'm all about saving innocence. So it'll be a journey and a half to pull it off and not be boring. And there's a little thing that I'm going to do as a presentation here in Arizona with your friend. And I can't really say much about Saw, but the franchise is reignited. And apparently they're going to be calling me. I've been lucky enough to go to these Comic Cons where you meet a lot of the fans, and fans of certain franchises are just so dedicated. Whether it's Saw or Lord of the Rings. What's the other famous one? Star Trek. I mean, fans are loyal, and sometimes they know more than you do about what's coming up.
Little House on the Prairie is another one, Costas.
That's another one. I remember that one. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I actually worked with Melissa Gilbert when she grew up.
Yeah.
Do you remember Melissa Gilbert?
Yeah.
She was the little girl on it.
Yeah. All right. So what stuff's out right now? People can watch, Costas, of you.
I'm really not sure when anything's been released because of the strike. I think we spoke around strike time, and I don't know what's out there. But if they look up my name and whoever's interested. They'll find movies that are streaming because I really don't know. The world's changed, and I'm not in touch with everything that goes on. Usually you do a movie, it comes out, people know it's coming out. Now, a lot of the times you do movies and they stream them and they release them in different ways and people, stumble onto them or find them. So
I was interviewing, I interviewed people for Boneyard that's coming out in theaters on July 5th with Mel Gibson and 50 Cent. Didn't get to interview Mel or 50, but I interviewed a lot of the actors, and it's a really good film. Can't say anything about it because embargo till July 1st, so you guys gotta wait. But it was intriguing. It's all about basically the murders in 2009 in New Mexico. That was really sad. But I was checking that out. All right, so. Mike, what questions do you have for Costas? What are you guys going to do when you hang out together in Florida?
Well, we always have a great time when we hang out in Florida, but this time Costas is going to bring his wife and kids, so we'll be doing a lot of family type stuff,
Yep. Eat some good steaks and rejoice in the beautiful weather. By the way, can I throw this at you guys? Mentioning Mel Gibson, who I love as a performer, and obviously Braveheart's one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah.
But I actually did a movie that I forgot about, as you asked me, and I think I should talk about it. Mel Gibson was going to do a movie called Gunslinger, an old-style Western. He had to drop out of it for some reason, and they got Nicolas Cage to replace him in another type of role. And the producers had a chinwag, and they invited me to play the role that Mel Gibson was going to play. Now, obviously, I've got to fill some pretty special shoes because Mel's fantastic. But I got to play the role that he was going to play, and I channeled him as best as I could and kept it, as real as I could. And I got to work with Nicolas Cage, who's eccentric and wild and funny. I mean, I didn't know how to play the scenes with him because I was enjoying his madness because he's kind of off kilter and he's all, You know, he's an ex-drunk and a gunslinger. He's all trying to get, and he was doing all this shit. And I'm thinking, well, he's a risk taker. I'm just going to enjoy it. So I just enjoyed him on screen as much as I could. But I ended up doing the role that Mel was going to do, and I was quite proud to try to do my best with it, because Mel is a special actor, right?
Oh, he truly is.
Oh,
he
he
did
is.
an amazing job in this last movie for sure.
Yeah.
Tell us the premise of Saw.
Ultimately, when I first was invited to do it, I had to work out why was it so successful. It was very original. It hit the crowds around America and the world like a ton of bricks, and it became a huge franchise. Basically, I heard some reporters, and I'm not really a fan of the reporters that want to put movies down and stuff like that, but it's their opinion if they don't like stuff. But they kind of called it violence porn and stuff like that because it's pretty violent. But in the end, when you get to the nitty gritty of the main character, something terrible happens to him, and he decides to hold people accountable that do terrible things. So it's sort of like a redemption towards the bad guys of the world. Like if you were to kidnap children and chop their arms off,
Yeah.
right? Then this guy finds you with his little helper, which is me, Detective Hoffman,
Right.
and this other character that's a woman called Shawnee Smith. Now, we find these people and we put them in traps. Now, if you tore a kid's arms off, are you willing to tear your own off to get out of the trap before you die?
Oh my God.
So people are put in positions to face their maker and their own demons. So that's where it becomes pretty clever and pretty cat and mouse as far as who gets it, when they get it, who do you catch? What do they do? How far is somebody willing to go? Like a pervert once was perverting on women, and then he was found in a trap where he had a minute to tear his own eye out before his head explodes, and he didn't do it. But it's like, how far are you willing to go? If you're willing to hurt people, how far are you willing to hurt yourself to live?
Totally.
That's the best way I can
All
explain
right.
it.
Now I'm going to go to a show that where we always talk about picket fences when you come on the show, but now we're going to talk about Players. You had a main
Right.
role, 18 episodes. Tell us about Players back in 1997, 98. I'm pulling it
Players,
up right now. Yeah.
That's right, dude. It was probably the most enjoyable job in show business I ever had. I got on extremely well with Ice-T.
That's right.
And the other character was the actor. The other name was Frank Johnny Hughes, who's become quite a prolific writer in Hollywood now. Anyway, we were a threesome that worked with Dick Wolf and all of his team, and it was an incredible experience on the Universal lot for a full year. And it was going to get picked up, but Dick Wolf apologized to us when it wasn't picked up. He apologized that he took it out of New York and brought it to LA. Because the first episode, the pilot, was gritty. It was a wonderful show to watch, but New York is a different animal to shoot in, and he thought he made a mistake by bringing it to LA. Nevertheless, it's one of the jobs I'll never forget.
All right, we're going to call out Dick Wolf right now. That Costas Mandylor needs to be in one of new Dick Wolf's shows. So,
well, you know what? Ice-T said the same thing. He says, "You're part of the Dick Wolf family. Call him up." I'll tell you an interesting story about Ice-T. When we were talking recently, he said we had done the show and he hadn't seen or heard from Dick in about a year or two. And one day he walks into a fried chicken place somewhere in LA, and Dick Wolf walked in, and he goes, "Ice, what are you doing?" He goes, "Getting myself some fried chicken." "Dick, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going to try some too." They hugged and they said goodbye. 2 days later, he gets a phone call from the Dick Wolf office saying, "Can you do a couple of episodes of SUV for me?" And Ice-T goes, "You know what? I don't watch the show. I'm not going to, I don't want to do it." Well, weeks later, he gets a phone call. "Listen, just come and do this thing for a season." 22 years later, he's living in a beautiful mansion in Jersey. And you never know what's going to happen when you walk into a chicken joint. So that's the luck of Hollywood.
So why don't you call if Ice-T told you a couple days ago or weeks ago to call Dick Wolf, call Dick Wolf.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call Dick Wolf, who, by the way, who, by the way, I must tell you this. He's my favorite producer of all time, apart from David Kelly. But one day he was walking by my brand new car that I bought during the show, and he walks by with some like 6-7 executives. And they walked by me, and I said something to him, and I pulled out a knife. And I said, "I'm talking to you, Wolf." And he turns around, and all these executives are like, "What the hell's going on here?" He turns around, reaches into his pant boot, pulls out a knife 3 times bigger than mine, and I said, "You're my greatest boss ever." I love the guy.
All right, I got a great episode he was in. Are you a fan, Mike Velarde, of Sex in the City?
I haven't seen that show in 20 years.
Okay, he played Friar Beep. That was it. Friar F. You know?
Friar.
Yeah. That was, and it was called The Agony and Ecstasy. Tell us about your character.
Yeah. Well, let's start by saying that it was a wonderful experience. The show was the biggest show in the world at the time. Yeah. And all I remember was, I remember when the actual movie came out. Remember the end, the show ended and they had a big movie and it was premiering all over the country. Yeah. And I remember being in a limousine with a guy that represented me in some ways, with SOAR and whatnot. He gets a phone call from somebody and they go, "Where are you?" "We're looking for Bob Mandler." He says, "I'm in a limousine in New York City." They go, "Oh, that's great. We're going to give him a certain amount of money to show the cinema."
What happened?
He cut out for a second. Okay. Well, so that's so far such a great interview. Yeah. And then Costas goes out, but okay, he's coming back now.
He's coming back.
And you know what? So Mike's already going to watch that. I'll let you know what episode it was when he played Friar. Fuck. The Agony and Ecstasy.
Yeah. Can I just?
You got cut out. So tell us more about it.
Have I got you live now?
Yeah.
All right. So I end up going to a cinema. There must have been like 2,000 people in this cinema. And I get there and they say, "We're going to surprise the audience." Right. And I'll never forget it. They said my name, Friar Beep. I went to the middle of the room. They gave me a microphone. Yeah. And I got a standing ovation like I was Elvis Presley. It was unbelievable. It had the section of all the women going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And then it had the section of all the gay guys going, "Oh my God, Friar's here." And I looked at everybody. I said, I didn't know what to say. I only did one episode, so I was kind of embarrassed with this beautiful, warm welcome. But I turned around and I go, they were screaming my name and clapping. And I go, "That's a wonderful, warm welcome for the only guy that never got laid on the show." I never got laid. You know that, right? I think I'm the only.
And also,
that never got laid.
You did not get a call for Magic Mike after that.
I did not. That was years later, though. The Magic
maybe you'll be the next Magic Mike. All right. So now we're going to go to another show that everyone knows about, Seventh Heaven. You play Bo Brewer for a recurring role for 5 episodes on Seventh Heaven.
That's true. Yeah. Wow, you got quite a little encyclopedia there.
I'm on Wikipedia.
That show was a monster, and I just tried to fit it. You're good. You're good. I all I remember was they used to give me mouthfuls of dialogue to say, and I was like, "Oh man, how am I going to get through this?" And everybody was very kind, and I had a good time. But it's sort of when you visit shows, you don't feel like you quite belong like you do on your own show.
No,
so
totally.
I got to visit that place, and it was it was great. People were welcoming, you know.
So I see he was on NCIS for an episode. So Dick Wolf, NCIS Los Angeles as well. I'm going to keep saying, or is NCIS Dick Wolf too?
No, Dick Wolf is not NCIS. It's a different animal altogether. But I did 2 episodes of each one of them, except for the New Orleans one. But that was great because I went on a little hiatus when I went a little crazy in Hollywood, living in hotels and partying with the best of them. Okay. And then when I got my shit back together, I ended up earning jobs again. And I must tell you, there's nothing like earning a job in Hollywood. You know, when you have to do a screen test or walk into a room of 25 people and prove yourself, it feels good.
All right. So
it's nice.
Yeah. So we go to your filmography now of the movies. You were in Mobsters as Frank Costello. Let's hear your Italian accent.
I have a story about that one. He didn't have an Italian accent. He had a slight little gruff. Lucky Luciano had more of an accent than Frank. Okay. If you ever see the hearings when he was in front of the the what do you call them? The guys that were after the mob. Who was it? The FBI.
Oh,
Kafava, was it Kafava or one of these guys? Anyway, you hear him speak. He had a little bit of a broken voice, but he sounded like a New Yorker. And the funny thing is, with that movie, I think every actor in Hollywood went up for one of those roles. It was the four main roles, right? And I remember getting the role of Bugsy Siegel. I got it. And I loved it because I knew I was right for the role, and I knew about Bugsy. I'd read everything about him. And then in the end, they gave me Frank Costello.
okay. So, and we were going back through it. It seems like he was. Then you look at his filmography later as he's coming back. We'll continue.
It's the iPhone he has, I think.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Look, in the end, I got Frank Costello. I turned it down, and everybody said I had to go back in again.
At least we got a little some good parts of him about Friar Fuck. So go figure. Only on the Mike Velarde show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's done a lot of work, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, he totally has. But he's starting to.
I'll write a book one day. Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right. So if we look at some of the movies. Saw X, you played Mark Hoffman. You were in multiple Saws, and it's kind of weird. It took years to go back to Saw. It looks like Saw.
Well, they went on a little hiatus.
Yeah, little hiatus. Yeah, a long hiatus.
Well, they did two other movies. One with Sam Jackson and Chris Rock, and I don't know if it really worked. They did another one that was a prequel. I don't know if it really worked. So they came up with a script, and apparently it's the best reviewed script out of all of them, apart from the first one. And I did a little cameo in the first one, and I wasn't supposed to tell anybody. But after it came out, and it became a smash hit with the third generation, it's revived the whole thing. And I meet a lot of fans across the seas when I go to these Comic Cons, and they all tell me, when you came on the screen, the theater went nuts. So I figured I've got a couple more movies in me in the future. Because when the fans tell you that kind of shit, when the cinema erupts, the producers find out. So hopefully I'll be joining them again this year.
Yeah. So let's think of some of the shows. Are there current streaming shows you want to be on? Cost
anything to do with Vikings would be great. Anything to do with what do you call it? The Game of Thrones? They've got that new show now. I think it's going in for its second season. I haven't had a chance to meet them yet, but things like that. I don't want to wear a suit anymore. I want to wear some Viking rags. So I'm comfortable every day.
Got it. All right. So, Mike, what is your favorite of Costas?
So Costas, when is Gunslingers going to hit the theaters? When could we go see that? I'm really looking forward to that movie because you're in it, Billy's in it, Nicolas Cage. I mean, you got some really good people.
Cage, Stephen Dorff. Yeah, it's a real kind of Hollywood Western, Look, I think it's going to be towards the end of the year, let's say September, October. That's my guess.
Okay. Now, looking at any other favorite shows, it looks like, okay, so you playing in Beowulf. So that was a pretty interesting thing. You played Han.
Oh, my God.
Honshu.
Yeah. Look, obviously that book is the oldest book in the world or something like that. And I didn't know much about it, but the great Robert Zemeckis invited me to play.
Oh, wow.
I went and read, and all of a sudden I'm standing in front of Sir Anthony Hopkins, John Malkovich, Ray Winstone, the famous English terrific actor, terrific human being. And of course, what's his name? Glenn, what's his name? Is Mel Gibson's best friend in Braveheart. His name's escaping me right now. The wonderful Irish actor. Anyway, we were together as a troupe for about 10 weeks, and Anthony Hopkins is one of the funniest and fidgety little boy storytellers you've ever met. One time he was telling us his great stories, and it's Malkovich and all these other legends from England. And at one point he looks at me and goes, "Oh, am I talking too much? I can stop now." And they go, No, keep going. He had the greatest stories, and he was hysterical. He was like a big, happy kid, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Neil,
great company.
What is the code I'm trying to get Brendan Kelly on the show, and it says he's having problems. It's asking for a medium ID number. What's your ID
Okay,
number?
all right. Well, we're live here, and I'm going to tell everyone in the building.
Yeah.
817-745-4609. There's no median code.
817 what?
745-4609. Anyone can join right now as we're live with Costas Mandalore and Mike Velarde on the Mike Velarde Show.
Yes.
Yeah. Saints and Sinners and Saints. He played Raymond Crowe.
Yes, sir.
Also known as a bad cop. Bad cop.
Yes. Nasty person. Wonderful role to play. My nemesis was a guy called Johnny Strong, a fitness fanatic. Loved him. And I got to, show off and be bad in New Orleans, which was a wild place to shoot in. Ooh. Let me tell you, making a movie in New Orleans, it's like it's a movie within a movie. You know what I'm saying? Great place.
I really like Your Honor that just came out on Netflix and was Showtime, I think, before. Your Honor is really, really good as well. Are you streaming anything you're watching right now, Costas, that you stream to watch?
I really, not that, whatever I catch, I catch. I'll be honest, I just saw the Elvis movie on the plane. I tend to watch more movies on the plane because I can't sleep. I enjoyed the Elvis film. I can't really, I don't chase anything. When I find stuff, I find it. I'm just looking for some interesting shows that are coming up. Like, I haven't seen Gomorrah, but there's a guy that I was going to be in a film with, and unfortunately, politics kicked me out of the movie, and it was really about the union. But there's a movie coming out called Den of Thieves 2. Did you see the first one?
Oh, yeah.
50 Cent was in that one. And basically Gerard Butler starring in it. And it was a big smash hit. I almost did the second one. It's called Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. I spoke to the director, who was very loyal to me and almost had me in the film. But I asked him painfully, what is it like? And he said, it's unbelievable. So whoever's watching, you got to see Den of Thieves 2 with the great Jerry Butler. And I recommend that to you.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike,
that would be great.
One other question, because we are almost out of time. This person, whoever has to come on,
I'm trying to get Brendan on. Because I know I would be cool having both of you guys on. It's invalid email or password. I don't know. So he's having a problem.
I can join him next time, and I'll sit in the back and just make comments every once in a while.
And it says B Kelly, so it's not David E. Kelly.
No, that's him. That's him. That's Brendan. Brendan.
Brendan's here. I'm just saying it's not David E. Kelly.
Yeah.
Not David E. Kelly.
That's great. I'd love to call him up too. That's terrific. Could Brendan hear us?
Brendan.
That's great.
Can you guys hear Michael? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Brendan.
Is my friend Costas on the line?
Yes, he is.
Costas, it doesn't matter if you're not dead,
Costas,
son.
I love you. I love you, Costas. I love you.
I love you back. Now listen here, everybody. Now this Brendan Kelly's a great storyteller himself. So you're going to ask him something before we run out of time.
I'll tell you why I'm a great story is because I do what Oscar Wilde once said. No decent Irishman would ever dare let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That's it.
What's going on, guys?
We're just talking about all of Costas' movies and TV shows. What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
I would say Bangkok Girly Boys, his first movie.
Wait, he wanted to play Friar Fuck, but it just didn't happen.
No, he was the fluffer.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If I did that movie in this stage of life,
you'd be huge.
Late 20s,
you'd be
huge right now. Huge.
Let me tell you something. Costas is one of the greatest because no matter what, you can't offend him. It's impossible. Because no matter what you say, he'll just say, but I love you.
You know what? I've learned not to take anything personally because it doesn't fucking matter. Whoever loves you, loves you. Whoever doesn't, okay.
All right. So, Mike, any other questions before we're almost saying goodbye?
No, listen, I love both these guys. They're both great. Costas introduced me to Brendan, and Brendan's done a lot himself. I mean, he was in He was in that Con Air with Nicolas Cage, and he's done a whole bunch of movies. He's a writer, script writer, another great
So
guy. I love these
what's
two
the
guys.
news? What's news with you, Brendan? Before we let you go,
Gosh, what was my newsworthy with me? Well, I would like to. I'm trying to get this movie I've been doing for 4 decades ago. I started working on it. It's a movie about the West Side Irish gang called, they're known as the Westies, Jimmy Coonan and Mickey Featherstone. And I was friends with Jimmy Coonan, and I've been trying to get this thing done. And I've got a really phenomenal script, and I'm working on the POC right now. It's called a proof of concept. They used to call them sizzle reels, and it's like an introduction to the world of the Westies, And I use different films to put this thing together. I have an editor that's phenomenal, and
so how did Mike meet you, Brendan?
Mike, he met me through Costas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I met Costas a couple of times, but the second time I met him was at a friend's funeral, a mutual friend's funeral. And I in memory of our old friend, I celebrated that night correctly. And Costas was right there with me. And Costas
it was a Viking night.
Yeah. Costas was right there with me.
Oh my goodness! All right, guys. I mean, this is a holiday. Costas is shooting a bunch of stuff. Brendan, do you have any projects you can't talk about?
Oh yeah, gosh! If I told my story, I'd be incarcerated right away.
Got it.
That'd be the end of it. But the night I met Costas, Costas, tell him what I was doing 20 minutes after we got to that place.
I think we were drinking red wine. I think it was Opus One out of the bottle, and I think that he had a gigantic bone with a piece of meat on the end of it. Yeah, and he was eating that in a 5-star restaurant, but we weren't doing it with all the delicacies. We were doing it with our hands and bottles. So Vikings live.
All right,
Vikings lived, and I think Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Brendan. Sorry, go.
No, it was a great night. It was a fabulous night. It was the way our friend Stefanos, the late great Stefanos, would want to be remembered.
All right. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Brendan. Best place
one great guy died, brought us together.
Yeah. Where can we find info on your movie, the movie you were trying to get out and stuff like that, Brendan? Do you have a
it's called Occupation Gangster, and I'm working on getting this thing did one way or the other. I'm going to get it done. And I just saw actually a film from Ireland called Good Vibrations. I don't know when it was made, but it was about punk rock in Belfast in the 70s. How kind of he said New York has the this and London has the pants, but we have the reason for punk rock. And I thought that film was so good in the way they intertwined stock footage into the movie, and it gave me some great ideas on how I'm going to make this film. And I want to make it very authentic and true to what these guys had come from.
All right. And, all right, what role is Costas going to play in your movie when you get it made?
Costas could play whatever the fuck he wants. How about that? Costas could do whatever he wants. Costas could do.
We'll find the place. You know what the thing is for me personally? When you do these biotype pics where people have really lived and everybody knows who they are, you've got to get people that look like them. You've got to get actors that can handle the role. And I love it when people look like their characters. So if something fits, we'll do it. I just want him to get it made because I read it and it's brilliant. And you know what? There are still wonderful things to be made. And, thank God for movie magic. That's all I can say.
All right. Amen. Costas Mandylor. Brendan, we appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Guys, that was the Mike Velarde Show. MikeVelarde.com too, as well. That was the Mike Velarde Show.